Hello everyone, it's time for another edition of the Top 5 Most Missed Math Questions. And now it's time for your Top 5 Most Missed Linear Equations and Inequalities questions on the Keystone practice. At number 5, a baseball team had $1,000 to spend on supplies. The team spent $185 on a new bat. New baseballs cost $4 each. The inequality 185 plus 4b is less than or equal to 1,000 can be used to determine the number of new baseballs b that the team can purchase. Which statement about the number of new baseballs that can be purchased is true? Okay, so when I see this equation, 185 plus 4b is less than or equal to 1,000. And I'm starting to see statements about how many baseballs. So let's solve for b baseballs. Oops, 1,000 there. Minus 185, minus 185. So 4b is less than or equal to 815. Okay, so we divide both sides by 4, and we get b is less than or equal to 203.75. Okay, so we have to be less than or equal to that, and really, since you can't have 0.75 baseballs, it's really got to be less than 203. So right off the bat, it can't be A. You cannot buy 204 baseballs. Letter B, the minimum number of baseballs that can be purchased is 185. Okay, well, if we look at our statement, it just says B has to be less than 203. So it could be 0. It could be 1. So there's nothing that says you have to buy at least 185 baseballs. So not B. The maximum number of new baseballs that can be purchased is 185. Well, we know that's not true either. We can purchase all the way up to 203 because it's just got to be less than that. So it's not C. So that doesn't sound right. We could default to D without reading it, but let's read it to make sure. It says the team can purchase 185 new baseballs. Can they? Yeah, they could buy 185, but this number is neither the maximum nor the minimum. Yeah, that's right. That's exactly what we're looking for. Now, I don't know why they felt like the compulsion to stick with 185 in these three choices when they also made the price of the new bat 185. That's a totally coincidental choice that they picked that in these choices. I don't know why they tried to make that a little complicated. The fact that 185 was in the equation had nothing to do with the number of baseballs. It had to do with the price of the bat. So we still had to check it. Looking at the equation just as it stood, 185 did not mean anything specific about the number of baseballs, and maybe they were just hoping that you would think that for some reason. Number 4. Jenny has a job that pays $8 per hour. Okay, $8 per hour. That sounds like some sort of rate. Plus tips. Plus. Translate in math. Looks like a plus sign. Tips T. Jenny works 4 hours on Monday and made 65 in all. Which equation could be used to find T, the amount Jenny made in tips? Okay, so I don't really like this question as an assessment of your understanding of linear equations, but we should be aware for something that's a little bit of a change up for us here. When I see $8 per hour and a number of hours, if I wanted to figure out how much money she made, $8 per hour for 4 hours, I need to do 8 times 4. You might be inclined to put the rate next to the variable t, but it's not $8 per tip, so you shouldn't be multiplying 8 by tip. It says plus tips, plus t. And in all, it turns out to be $65. So yeah, they use parentheses, but this is letter D. If we look at some of the other options, 4 times t, why would you multiply hours times tips? It doesn't say she makes some number, she works some number of hours for every tip. 8 times t, you shouldn't be multiplying the rate per hour times the tip, and then there's like a division sign in that one, and the next one, again, it doesn't make sense to do any of those. Not my favorite question in terms of assessing your understanding of linear equations, but we can piece it together all the same. Number 3. The solution set of an inequality is graphed on the number line below. There it is. And here the graph shows the solution set of which inequality? If I look at them, the only differences we see are the symbols here. Okay, now if I look at the graph has a solid dot there, not a hole. So that should cross off A and C right away because it's not going to be just strictly less than or strictly greater than. Okay. Now, We could test a point to see which one it's going to work in, but let's go ahead and solve either one of these. I'm going to solve the 2x plus 5 less than or equal to negative 1. So I'll subtract 5 from both sides. 2x is less than or equal to negative 6, and we can divide by 2. X is less than or equal to negative 3. So it's saying x is smaller than negative 3. Is that what we see up there? No, we see values that are bigger than negative 3. And we could take the time to solve the equation in D completely, but we realize the only difference is that inequality flipped. So D would be x is greater than or equal to negative 3. So that is what we see represented here. So it is letter D. Number 2. Tyreek always leaves a tip between 8% and 20% for the server when he pays for his dinner. This can be represented by the system of inequalities shown below, where y is the amount of tip and x is the cost of dinner. Okay, so we see those two inequality. Which of the following statements is true? If the dinner costs $10, x, the amount of the tip should be between 2 and 8. So we've got to kind of plug that in. So if I plug in 10 for x, the one equation would be y is greater than 0.08 times 10 would be greater than 0.8, and the other one would be y is less than 0.2 times 10 would be 2. So between 80 cents and $2, not $2 and $8. They try to throw us off some decimal places there. Not A. B. In B it says the cost of the dinner, x, is $15. Okay, so let's put 15 in for x. So if 15 is in for x, 0.08 times 15, or 8 times 15 is 80, plus 40 is 120. Move the decimal back over. Y is greater than 1.2. In our other equation, y must be less than, okay, 2 times 15 is 30. Move the decimal place over once, and we get 3. So greater than 120, less than $3. That looks correct. Let's go ahead and just assess whether C or D is correct. I like to be thorough. All right, C. Now they're giving us the tip is $3. So if the tip is $3, 3 must be greater than 0.08x. I need to write that out a little bit more. I'm going to divide both sides by 0.08 to solve that. So if we take 3 divided by 0.08, we get 37.5 is greater than x. I don't see anything about 37.5 in that answer for the cost of the dinner, so that's not looking like our answer either. Let's try the last option here, 240 for the tip. All right, 2.40 is greater than 0.08x. We can again divide by 0.08. So 2.4 divided by 0.08 is 30. So 30 is greater than x. That has nothing to do with the 3 or the 6 here. Maybe they were trying to think 3 like 30, but no. So C and D didn't work. We thought B was going to work anyways, so we are extra confident in letter B. And the number 1 most missed question, an equation is shown below. 5 times the quantity 3x plus 7 is equal to 10, which is a result of correctly applying the distributive property. All right, I'm going to go through some of the wrong answers and say what property they did show. In letter D, the 5 no longer in front of the parentheses is after, so they are multiplying in a different order. When you multiply in a different order, you are using the commutative property of multiplication. Remember, commuting, they kind of like move around, but you're moving them and multiplying them in a different order. All right, what about C? In C, inside the parentheses, the 7 and the 3x have changed their order. So they were bonded by addition, so this is the commutative property of addition. Great. All right, what happened in B? It takes a second to pause and think. The 5 is gone, and the 10 turned into a 2. We must have divided both sides by 5. We call this, because we did division to both sides, the division property of equality, which is the long way of saying, of course, it was A. We took the 5 times the 3x, and we see that there. Now, normally, I'm sure most of you are going to jump right to say that that's 15x, but we're showing that kind of all spelled out here. And then the 5 times the 7, we see that there as well. So that is the distributive property. Yes, it is letter A. That was your most missed questions in the linear equations and inequalities section.